Back to right at the wire, and right off the bat, I just want to tell you that tell you all that have been watching. I really appreciate the increase in views we've had recently, and that you're stopping in to take a look at what we have to say. So I really appreciate that, and please like and subscribe as well. It does help with the content and helps us keep moving forward on our journey. Today, as promised, we're going to be taking a look at the Withers. It's a grade 3 at Aqueduct for 3-year-olds, and hopefully it will give us an idea of who's going to be moving forward up in New York. And without further ado, let's take a look. The Withers is the 7th race at Aqueduct. It is a grade 3 for 3-year-olds at 1 1/8 miles. First thing to note is the configuration, and much like Gulfstream in the Pegasus World Cup, as well as the Holy Bull coming up this Saturday, you can see it basically starts right on a turn. So the horses at the outside who are at a bit of a disadvantage, you've only got 6 here. I don't anticipate there being a big challenge there. So I don't think you have to worry too much that a horse you like won't be able to get to where he wants to. But I just thought I'd mention it as something that you always want to take a look at when you start to see how the race is going to be run. Let's look at the contenders. First is 90% Maddie. Double sprint pedigree. Wigalia was a sprinter, pretty good one. Butch Reed's a great trainer, but this one, I don't know. I just really don't think 2 turns is what this one wants. You can see has done pretty well in Pennsylvania at Parks, but state-bred Pennsylvanians, as opposed to the kind of class you're going to be dealing with on the Derby Trail, maybe underneath a little bit, but I don't see this one as a win candidate. General Banker, pretty much the same thing. I mean, sprint on top. Again, this one has been running against state-breds in New York with not a whole lot of success. In fact, didn't break his maiden until he won a restricted New York Stallion Series stakes. Didn't really come out as such a great race. You can see once he finally faced Open Company in the Jerome, finished 3rd, but 7.5 lengths behind the top 2, and they were really the only ones doing any running that day. So it's not that big a deal, really. Again, this one could hustle up for a slice, but I'm not counting on it. I think 3rd is pretty much the ceiling for this one. Arctic Arrogance hasn't done much wrong except just can't close the deal. Last 2 efforts have been pretty much the same. Up near the lead, dueling all the way, and then faltering late. Only losing by a half length. So this one clearly is a hard charger. Has got some fight, but just can't seem to close it. You see Linda Rice has put blinkers on for this race. That more than likely is to keep him more focused, particularly in the stretch. Basically the buyers tower over everybody else here. So I think Arctic Arrogance is a win candidate, to be sure. Could very well get on the lead, and without a serious challenge, could make this a very easy race. But you do have Hit Show in here, and I think that's going to present a pretty big challenge. So Arctic Arrogance, if you like, then I don't see any problem with putting this one as a win candidate. My choice is likely to be 2nd, but is definitely one of the top 2 for sure. Andiamo Firenze is a half-brother to Firenze Fire. Some of you may remember was a really hard-knocking colt. Got better as he got older. Was a really good, tough miler. Showed some ability at 3, but was better as he got older. And Andiamo Firenze has shown a little bit of ability. Again, running against state-breds, though, it has got to be a red flag because, Open Company is where you want to see the success, and that's where you're going to make your bones when you're moving your way to the Derby. So this one maybe gives Arctic Arrogance a little bit of challenge on the early pace, but I'm not sure that this one has enough to stay late. The buyers are, like I said, they seem a little light to me, particularly against state-bred company. I do like the fight in this horse, and I think this one you can certainly use. You're going to get a price. 3rd would be the ceiling for me, but perhaps 2nd. And Dylan Ferns, there's some things to like, but pedigree and class are kind of a little light. Hit Show, we had talked about in the Southwest Stakes, and Brad Cox, it was true to his word and has moved him to New York. And it can't be for any other reason to get some easy Derby points. He is definitely on Cox's JV, and this is an easier path to the Derby without question. You can see by this field there's no real heavy-duty world beaters in it. So I think this is a good spot to pick up a win. He's shown steady improvement in all three races. He is a May 3-year-old, so he's still growing. Always important to note that. And I don't think he'd be here unless Cox felt he could win. And I think he's the top choice here. The only question I have is if Arctic Arrogance gets on the lead and Hit Show's a little late to the party, as far as challenging, then that could spell doom, but certainly has to be considered one of the top two here. Price is going to be short. We know this, but really that's what you're faced with, and has to be considered a win candidate. Prove Right is by Justify with Harlan's Holiday underneath. That's 2 turns all day long. The problem is right now, this one's just not very fast. That's the bottom line. They've tried to put him in stakes races at Saratoga, at the Sanford, and the Skidmore. You can see he didn't have a bad Nashua, but Champion's Dream is sort of a second-tier Derby horse. I don't know how impressive that showing is. And you can see he was totally up the track in the Remsen. With WNL and Arctic Arrogance. Tuskegee Airman, we don't know what happened to him that day, but that's another story. So I'm not sure the class is really there. There has been a little bit of a improvement lately. You can see his buyers went up in the very next race to get a career high, which is always a good sign moving forward. And a little angle to think about is this one just came off running off synthetic surfaces at Turfway. That is one of my favorite angles, is synth to dirt, because horses that come off synthetic, it's like somebody just took the handcuffs off. They're just so happy to get off a surface that's so tough to run on that they really tend to pop. The greatest example of that was Rich Strike in the Derby last year. That's one of the reasons I bet him, was that he was coming off a synthetic and a career high buyer. So when you see that, you have to take the horse a little more seriously than perhaps you would, because a lot of times they do pop. So this could be a case of that. I'm not sure that this one's good enough to win, or will be with a move forward, but I could definitely see on the bottom of the try, and perhaps a second with a little bit of luck. But I think that's the ceiling. So be on the lookout for that. And if you incorporate that into your handicapping, just think about that synthetic to dirt angle. I think you'll do pretty well. Particularly if you play other tracks. Oaklawn Park, Norman McKnight is, every time he brings his string down from Canada, they're all running on synthetic at Woodbine, and they all pop really well. So just a little nugget to think about, a little extra for your dollar. So to review, I like Hit Show to win. I like Arctic Arrogance in second, and I think the 2 best candidates for third are Andiamo or Firenze and Prove Right, for the reasons stated. Not the greatest of fields, but there are some options. And, if you have 1 or 2 here outrun their pedigree, this could make for a very interesting race. So that's the way I see the Withers. Okay, so that's our look at the Withers. Just wanted to have one final note to you. Again, want to thank you for the increased viewership we've had recently. We really do appreciate it. And when you tune in, please like and subscribe. That does help us to bring content to you. And we really, again, really appreciate those of you who have joined our community. And we hope to see you again real soon. Thanks.